Hi YouTubers. I'm going to present to you a few, just 3 or 4 books that I've picked up recently that are music related or just books of interest. The first is Strange Brew, Eric Clapton and the British Blues Boom, 1965 to 1970. It's written by Christopher Hjort, forward by John Mayall, and it basically is a chronology from 1965 to 70, of course, of what was going on in the British blues scene, the primary bands, what they were doing, recordings, concerts, with John Mayall, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, Cream, Blind Faith, Rolling Stones. I think there's some Manfred Mann, Yardbirds, Eric Clapton, and there's some nice photos in here, a few nice photos, not a lot, but it's just an incredible research project that this person has done, and it's quite a thick book. It's softback. That is Blind Faith in Hawaii, August 24th, 1969. There's a picture of Buddy Guy and Eric Clapton. And there was a cool picture. Oh, that's Peter Green, John McVie. There's Clapton with his famous Gibson SG that was all painted up, and Todd Rundgren owned it. I don't know if he still does. And here's a picture of B.B. King, Eric Clapton, and Elvin Bishop from 1967. That was when Clapton was still in Cream. There's Clapton and a friend. There's Clapton with that guitar again. Very interesting. The next book I'm going to show you is called Nowhere to Run by Jerry Hershey, and the story of soul music. There are not very many books, really excellent books, that summarize or encapsulate the history of soul music, and apparently this is one of the better ones. It was first released, this book came out in 1984. I don't think this is updated, but there have been other books like Charlie Gillette, Sound of the City. Peter Grolnick has written some good books about soul music, and of course there are books about Motown, and Rob Bowman's book about Stax Records is a good book as well. But apparently this is quite a good book about the history of soul music up until the 1980s at least. There's a series of books called the Rough Guides that I'm sure if you read a lot of books you've seen these. This is the Rough Guide to the Beatles, and it's not a large book, but it's an excellent book. It's for a one-book summary of the Beatles, their recordings, their lives, their solo years. It's really a good book. And one of the things I really liked about the book was it does an analysis of some of the other Beatles books that have been released about the Beatles, and the good ones at least, like the Mark Lewison books and things like that. And it does reviews on them to say, you know, how good they are, how bad they are. And that's an interesting chapter. That was the first chapter I think I read when I bought this, but I really like this book. It's a good buy. And this one is not musical, but it's interesting though. It's called Yesterday's Tomorrows, Past Visions of the American Future by Joseph Korn and Brian Horrigan. Now, back in the 1960s, 50s, 40s, people thought the future would be very scientific and atomic and things like that. And this book shows a lot of the space flight, modern mechanics and inventions showing what they thought the future was going to be like. This is really interesting stuff. I mean, the world didn't turn out the way that people thought it would. These houses, there's some amazing houses, although that one might be kind of like a Frank Lloyd Wright. That's a World's Fair. Is that 1939 New York World's Fair? There are parts of this book that are almost like is it Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Here's some toys from the 1950s. Some of like the Japanese robots, things like that. Godzilla. Lots of good pictures, great commentary. It's going to be a fun book to read. Yesterday's tomorrow's. Thank you for watching.